Hello everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Neverwinter Nights. Last episode we finished our explorations of a tomb in the Coldwood and the Coldwood in general. Now before we move on, I want to see if our companions have any
Yes.
more of their
Is there
tales to
something you
tell.
need?
Let's start with Dalen. I want you to continue your story from before. We should focus on finding the words of power for Aaron Gent. But I suppose I could spare some time to share with you the legend of my people I mentioned earlier. Yes, please, I want to hear it. In ancient times, all the Uthgar tribes were one, a mighty nation under the great hero king Uthgar. Our people were indomitable in battle. None dared stand against Uthgar when he wielded his great spear. It is said no weapon could harm him when he brandished the spear over his head. Go on. But against our greatness the armies of our enemies massed. Goblins, orcs, ogres, and other creatures too foul to mention. A dark host marched forth from the mountains to battle Uthgar and his people. According to the tale, there was a young boy who desired nothing more than to be a great hero of the Uthgard. When news of the invasion came, he swore he would join the ranks of men as a warrior. He was a mere child, not even a youth, and the warriors told him to stay with the women and infants. But the boy was brave and stubborn, and he would not accept this. What did the boy do? The night before the battle, the boy crept into Uthgar's tent and stole his magic spear. Then the boy marched out in the darkness to face the horde alone. But he was a child. He did not even know where he was going, and he soon became lost in the woods. In the morning, Uthgar woke to find his spear gone. He was forced to march against the enemy without it. The battle raged fierce and bloody, and many warriors fell before the enemy broke and fled. But even victory came with a terrible cost, for Uthgar, father of our people, was felled by an arrow through the eye. What about the boy with the spear? After many days, the boy found his way back to the camp. Those who saw him with the spear quickly understood what had happened, and they blamed him for Uthgar's death. They cast him out forever, banishing him from the tribe. The boy fled, taking the spear with him. He had only wanted to prove himself a warrior. He had only wanted to help defend the tribe. His motives were honorable. But his actions had tragic consequences, and the Uthgard could not forgive him, just as Neverwinter could not forgive Fenthic. But the tale does not end there. How does it end? The boy vanished. He was never seen again. And neither was Uthgar's spear, the symbol and source of the Uthgard nation's power and might. Without the spear, my people were vulnerable, and our enemies fell upon us. The great nation of the Uthgard was splintered into small tribes. Never again would we know the glory of our past. Had the Uthgard forgiven the boy, he and the spear would have remained, and the empire would have stayed strong. Had Neverwinter forgiven Fenthic, Arabeth might not have betrayed the city she loved. I guess I see your point. That was part of what we are speaking with here, how everyone feels about Arabeth's betrayal. There is a lesson in the fall of the Uthgard, a lesson Neverwinter would do well to heed. There is hope for the city yet, just as there is hope for the Uthgard. Hope. There is more to the legend of Uthgar's spear, Ken. Perhaps later I will tell you the tale, but now is not the time for me to speak of this. We must focus on finding the words of power for Aaron Gent if we are to save Neverwinter. As you wish, Dalen. As you wish. Alright then. Next up, we have Tommy.
I figured they'd drag you.
Alright, Tommy. First, level up. Thank you.
Eh?
Now, let's talk. I want you to continue your story from before. Was I telling a story, my lord? Oh, right, about the end of my apprenticeship with Halasar. Well, wizards are a funny lot, you know. No self-respecting thief would go poking his nose into places where it's sure to get cut off. Wizards run like moths into bonfires. Halasar was no different. He didn't want me to find out, of course, but I had a way of sneaking around his tower without him knowing, and I saw him summoning demons. Why would he be summoning demons? Why does any wizard summon demons? Power, knowledge, succubus booty? Who can tell? Maybe he needed a chess partner. Anyway, this demon seemed harmless enough. Halasar and it had some laughs, and it tickled the mage's belly until he was giggling like a schoolgirl. So, after Halasar dismissed it and left, I decided I would call up this demon and see just how much riches he could give me. It really didn't seem like such a big thing at the time. Why would you think a demon could make you rich? Aren't they the ones that give you 3 wishes? After you rub their bellies or something? I never much paid attention to my studies, you know. That's genies, and it's their lamp, Tommy. So I read a bit of the wizard's book and summoned the demon, right? Well, the demon looks all surprised to see me, and he just laughs and laughs and laughs. I asked him what's so funny, right? He says, "Why, you little one!" He has this big booming voice, and all I can think is, boy, I am gonna be so rich. So what happened, Tommy? Well, I shouted at him and demanded he make me rich, right? And he laughs again. So I say he better make me powerful, then, figuring that's maybe just as good. So he laughs again. Finally he calms down and he says okay and gives me a magic wand. Says that will give me all the power I need, and poof, he's gone. Boy, did that wand got me in so much trouble. What did it do? I'll have to tell you what the wand did sometime later, maybe. Let's just say Halasar wasn't happy about it. Anyway, I'm sure we have more important things to do, right, my lord? Tommy, come on! Why do you always do this? Why do all of you always do this? Okay, that's Tommy. Let's move on to Body
You're
Knock.
back. Is there
If you
something
don't
you
mind,
need?
please level up.
Is there something
And now
you
then,
need?
let's talk. Let's continue with what you were telling me before. You seem quite interested in this subject, Ken. I suppose we could spare a few minutes from our quest to speak about Gon's arrival on the shores of Lantern, if you wish. Ah, yes, that was what you were going to tell us about. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want to hear the tale. Precisely. As I already mentioned, Gon Wonderbringer appeared on the shores of Lantern during the time of troubles. During those years, Al, the Overfather of the Gods, decreed they must walk among us as mortals. Gon Wonderbringer chose to take the form of a gnome, a logical choice given the obvious advantages of my race. It was in this form that he washed up on the shores of Lantern. As you can imagine, people were skeptical of Gon's claim, but the Wonderbringer's clerics confirmed his identity. Well, at least the clerics knew. Go on. During the time of troubles, there was great strife among the suddenly mortal gods. Bane, Baal, and Merkul slew each other, battling over the portfolio of death. Joaquin, goddess of wealth and commerce, vanished and has never returned. But Gon chose not to become involved in the machinations and power struggles of the other deities. He dwelt peacefully among the people of my island home, sharing his wisdom and knowledge with us. Perhaps the most well-known gift he shared with us was the secret of making smoke powder. Smoke powder? Smoke powder is quite useful, if somewhat dangerous. Though it resembles nothing more than coarse black sand, when lit, smoke powder will explode with a blast of surprising force. Ah, gunpowder. Smoke powder is a remarkable tool with many uses, but it can be quite destructive in the wrong hands. This is why even among the Lanternese the secrets of smoke powder are known only to a precious few. But even though smoke powder is Gon's most well-known gift to my people, it was not the most important piece of knowledge he shared with us. Really? You mean you have something more power? Actually, what do you mean? What other gift did he give you? As I have already told you, we are a society of observers and thinkers. We have a tradition of isolating ourselves from the politics and events of Faerun. But Gon changed all that. He warned us a time was coming when we must become involved in the affairs of the mainland. A time was coming in which we could not afford to remain dispassionate and neutral. He would not say when this time was, or what the circumstances would be of this momentous event. But when a god tells you to go forth into the rest of the world, you would be wise to listen. Oh, but Lantern is still a very closed and mysterious society. Given the analytical nature of our society, you could not expect we would suddenly integrate ourselves with the rest of Faerun without careful study and research of what we were about to undertake. Suddenly the discoveries and accounts of those who had left our island on journeys of exploration became infinitely more important as a tool to teach us of the society and culture we knew we would soon be interacting with. Well, of course, provided it's not horribly out of date. Now, by law, all who leave Lantern must first visit the clerics of Gond Wonderbringer to obtain divine guidance before embarking on their journey. Well, you obviously left, so what kind of divine guidance did you receive? Me? You know, the usual. Go with Gond, that kind of thing. Pretty much what you'd expect. You're not a very good liar, Body Knock. The guidance I received from God's clerics is a personal and private thing, Ken, and it has nothing to do with our work for Aaron Gend. Perhaps I will speak more of this later, but now is not the time. We need to focus on our mission. We have to get those words of power back to Aaron Gend. As you wish.
I have been waiting for you.
Oh, and now
Is
we
there some...
have Mr. Throat Killer here. Oh, goody, and he changed his robes, too. Let me get some water. Alright,
Is
Grimnaw.
there something...
Please continue with what you were telling me before. Very well, Ken. The beauty of death is not easily understood, but if you are willing, I will tell you of some of the rituals I endured when I joined the Long Death. Very well, tell me of the rituals. Before an initiate can be accepted into the Order, they must first learn to appreciate the beauty of death. We must walk the cemeteries and graveyards in search of this beauty. We must live and dwell amongst the dead and dying. We must surround ourselves with that which others consider gruesome or macabre. For many, this is the easiest part of our training. I myself was already enraptured with the corpses on the battlefields. I already understood the perfect truth of their deaths. Go on. The next phase of our training is to understand the tools the Silent Lord uses to prepare us for death. Pain, suffering, sorrow, agony. We participate in the torture of victims. We witness the sweet release they achieve when at last they succumb to death. And then we subject ourselves to the same torments as our victims. We taste the pain and suffering as it burns away that part of us which clings to the mortal world. You subject yourself to torture. Only through experiencing such pain can we understand how it prepares us to kneel at the altar of the Silent Lord. Pain is of this world, but it can release us into the next. The Silent Lord claims many during this stage of the initiation. Those whom he has chosen to yet serve him in this world. Those who survive continue their training. In the next stage of our initiation, we must become true servants of the Silent Lord. We must murder 3 people: a rich old man, a poor young woman, and a newborn child. Dear God, why does it have to be those specific 3 victims? By slaying a rich old man, a poor young woman, and a newborn babe, we learn that all of us are subjects of the Silent Lord. Male, female, young, old, rich, poor. Death has dominion over us all. Next, we must face the wheel. A simple test, but one which delivers more initiates into the hands of the Silent Lord than any other. The wheel teaches us that the Silent Lord chooses at his pleasure, not ours. We are subject to whims and chance. Death is random. I can guess, but how does the wheel work? The wheel is made of alternating white and black squares. If the pointer stops on a white square, we move on to the final initiation. If it stops on a black square, we are slain on the spot. When I began the initiation, there were 6 of us seeking to enter the Order. 2 died on the torture racks. 1 was captured after murdering a wealthy elderly merchant and hung. That left 3 of us to face the wheel. I alone survived to face the final challenge. And what was the final challenge? That I am not yet ready to share with you, Ken, for I have not yet completed it. But I thought you were a member of the Order already. I am a monk of the Long Death, Ken. The final challenge is necessary only if I ever wish to enter the inner circle of my Order. I want to ask you for your aid in this, Ken, but this challenge is sacred to the Order. Despite all you have done, I am not yet certain you are ready to learn of our most hallowed secret. Were I back at the monastery, I could consult with the elders, but in their absence I can only wait and see if some sign is delivered to me. Only if I receive this sign will I be able to tell you of the final challenge, Ken. Perhaps later I will speak more of this, but now is not the time. You are not yet ready. Let us return to our mission, for in doing so we will surely spread death throughout the North. Some sign. Oh boy, Grimnaw. Your Order really is evil, dear God in heaven. You are not going to end up happy with a happy ending. You are going to end up dead, which I guess for you would be a happy ending. I just hope I don't end up having to be the one to kill you for before you do something truly terrible.
I hoped that you would return, so I waited
Well,
here.
in
I've
front
hardly
of me,
damaged.
anyway.
Hey there,
Alright,
dear.
Linu, level up, please. Thank you.
Hey there, dear. What
Now, I want you to continue your story from before, Linu. I suppose you won't rest until I tell you about the accident that yet led to my becoming a cleric of Sahanin. I guess I can tell you, though it was a horrifying experience. Ah, yes. That was what you were going to tell us. Because you were going to be a mage, but then, of course, everything went wrong because you're you. Anyway, I do want to hear it. It was just over a month into our training when Gadolin decided to let us examine some of his collection of magical artifacts. He took us into his vault, the part where the tower where the lower powered magical items were stored. We played with them for a while, but I was bored. You were bored playing with magic items. Being from a wizard's home, most of us had seen items like these quite a few times. I was hardly going to be impressed by a wand of magic missiles. That's of lower power? That can kill a first-level commoner! I noticed that one of the doors had been left open, so I thought I would have a quick peek inside. Oh dear. Go on. I didn't mean to touch anything, but two of the other students came in behind me. One of them asked what I was doing. His voice scared me, causing me to jump in the air, but I didn't land on the floor. I didn't see the rope that was hung to keep people away from this one display. The hole I fell into was a doorway into another plane of existence, or at least that's what they told me later. According to Gadolin, no person, let alone a child, should have survived the experience. So, how did you survive? All I know is that my body seemed to expand and contract at a horribly fast rate, like a hyperventilating toad. The feeling seemed to last for hours, but it was over in seconds. I can't explain it any better than that. When it stopped, I opened my eyes. What did you see? There was a large, gray, squishy thing that looked at me with 20 large eyes. I whimpered a little, I remember that. Then it started to move. I don't think I have ever seen anything move so very fast. I screamed as it attacked and continued to scream as a bolt of glowing blue light ripped through its body, just seconds before it could reach me. I sat on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. Arms enveloped my quaking form and a soft voice whispered words into my ear. Who was it? That would be getting ahead of the story, just be patient. I can only recall images of journeys and safety, of life and death and of times to come. As the voice spoke, I began to feel very tired, and I drifted off to sleep. When I awoke, I was in a comfortable bed surrounded by a curtain that stretched up to the ceiling, and I could hear a man's and woman's voice talking softly behind it. The voices were suddenly interrupted by the entrance of my master, who angrily asked why I was taken into the temple of Sahanin. A single word from the woman stopped him cold. How did she stop him? All she said was his name. He looked at her with a piercing stare, then his eyes opened in surprise and he sank to his knees. I was confused, having no idea who was standing by my bed. The only word my master could speak was her name. Sahanin. Wait! You were rescued by a goddess? The goddess came over and pulled the curtain back. She smiled and kissed me on the forehead. My child, she said, you have exceeded the boundaries of luck. What? A green light surrounded her body as she stepped back and disappeared. For years after that experience, people treated me with awe and called me the godchild. Sahanin did me a favor, but there were days when I wished she could have done it quieter. That does seem to stretch the limits of luck. Such is my life. Bad and good luck in heaping amounts, like a gift of gold that crushes you under its weight. I have dedicated my life to the goddess. She gave me that gift so I could give everything back to her. There is a task that she wishes me to accomplish, and that is why she chose to save my life. A task? I overheard a few of the words she shared with the High Priest before my master came in the room. But that is a task for me, and I should not be allowed to interfere with your quest. We have too much to do right now to tell that tale. We need to find the words of power for Erengend if we are to save Neverwinter. So, just to get this straight, Linu Lanaral, who wounded her husband-to-be as he tried to woo her by breaking his arm, stepping on his hands, and I'm pretty sure there was something else she did, who managed to cause so many minor inconveniences, including losing a precious relic and artifact, who causes trouble everywhere she goes, got incredibly lucky by being the only person to survive falling into a portal that killed everyone else and being rescued by a goddess. Yeah, I guess that does kind of balance itself out in both ways. Okay, let's move on to Sharwin. The last sane one of all these, because truthfully, it's like we have Sharwin, Bodyknock, and Dalen. Well, Sharwin and Dalen are the. You know what? Let's talk with Sharwin first, get her story, and then I'll speak of the companions.
I suspected you.
Yes, Sharwin,
Yes?
let us first level up. Thank you. Now let us
Yes?
speak.
Is it-
Please continue your story from before. All right. I've thought about which story to tell you, Ken. It is an old one. The story of Tamerlane and the Song of Love. Sounds promising. Oh, I'm so happy you approve. Now, since you promised to be a good audience, be quiet for once. Tamerlane was an elven bard, one of the most talented and famous from an age long ago. At the peak of his life, he was happily married with numerous children, yet still he felt he had left something undone. He bid his children a tearful farewell one day, hugging his faithful wife close to his breast, and promised to return as he began the greatest quest of his long life. For decades he searched for Hanali Selenil, the elven goddess of love. He called to her from her temples, walked the fields of Arvandor, serenaded her from the highest mountain tops. Just when he thought he could search no more, and his thoughts turned to his long-lost wife and children, Hanali Selenil came to him at long last. She was the most beautiful of elves, her eyes warm and clad in a gown of silver and gold. "Thou hast sought me out," she spoke, "and I have come. What dost thou desire of me?" Tamerlane was almost overcome by her beauty, but still he spoke. "Hanali Selenil," he said, "also called Lady Goldenheart, the winsome rose, the mother of sadness, I wish a boon. I desire to know the true meaning of love, so that I may write a song to stir the hearts of mortal and immortal alike. Would you grant me this boon?" The goddess thought on his offer and smiled. "I am the three who are one, child. Perform a task for each of us, and you shall know the true meaning of love and be rewarded." Three who are one? Oh, yes. The Queen of Arvandor is the elven goddess Angarad, but she is commonly thought of as three goddesses, three aspects who together are the one, the triune. One, of course, is Hanali Selenil, goddess of love and the gold elves. One is Airdrie Fania, goddess of the sky and the winged of Ariel. The third is Sehanine Moonbow, goddess of dreams and the moon elves. Wait, that connects to Linu. Tamerlane readily agreed to perform the tasks, of course. That, however, I'll tell you another time, seeing as you interrupted and all. Oh, come on! Tell me now! To be honest, Ken, I've forgotten how part of the story goes. Let's just keep moving. I'll remember the rest eventually. Very well. Let's get Dalen back in our group.
I've been waiting.
So, I'll just say this of the group. Dalen and Sharwin are the two most normal of the group. Dalen is... he's a man of honor, of righteousness. A barbarian, sure, but an honorable barbarian, and I can stand by him. Sharwyn is also normal. She's a bard, she's traveled the world, she's had a few issues. Her former boyfriend being seduced, and having to deal with her mother, but for the most part she's fairly normal. Bondynock, he's eccentric, but also fairly normal. Nothing too unusual about him. Had some odd things at the time. Tommy and Linu, oh my god, their stories. Tommy is just completely blind to everything that happens around him and completely filled with optimism and everything. He's amazing. And Linu, such incredible bad luck and such shenanigans that happen around her. And yet such luck she also has. Good luck as well. She is surrounded by luck. Good and bad. And Grimnaw is a horrible, horrible person. I think that's all I need to say. Anyway, that's all of our companions. We'll learn more of their tales probably at the next level up, and probably get their quests as well. That said, that's all for our companions, and all for this episode. Next episode, I believe it is time we headed down to Fort Ilkard. They're apparently having problems and could probably use some relief from a siege. That'll be in the next episode, so until then, I'm Chester44, that is Ken Daniels and Dalen Red Tiger. This has been a Let's Play of Neverwinter Nights, and I shall see you all next time.